Professional cycling is a team sport, but it's also fiercely individual. While teammates are expected to work for each other towards a common goal, whether protecting a leader in the mountains, setting up a sprinter for victory, or even pacing a team time trialist to glory, personal ambitions often clash. When two riders on the same team believe they should be in charge, the harmony within the squad can shatter, leading to some of the most dramatic and controversial moments in the history of the sport. From riders openly attacking their teammates to leadership battles that play out like civil wars, these are the times internal rivalries within a team turn into something a bit more hatred for each other. But before we start, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on The Cycling Dane, and with that out of the way, let's get into it. Team Sky entered the 2012 Tour de France with one goal: to secure Britain's first ever Tour de France winner. Their leader was Bradley Wiggins, a multiple Olympic champion who had transformed himself from a track cyclist into a world-class stage racer. The team was built around Wiggins, and he was expected to ride into Paris in yellow with the full support of a very strong team. However, there was one problem, and that was Chris Froome. A lesser known climber at the time had sparked some controversy in the Vuelta a España the year before, but Froome had quietly developed into one of the strongest riders in the peloton. And once the race hit the mountains up to La Planche de Belfi, we saw Froome attacking Cadel Evans and Bradley Wiggins, grabbing the stage glory for himself, but Wiggins getting the yellow jersey as he was the better one in the prologue, and Froome had lost time earlier in that week as well. This intention from Froome to grab anything became very clear on the slopes deeper into the race, where Froome attacked and dropped Wiggins multiple times, only to be ordered by team management to wait. He obeyed, but the tension was obvious. In the press conference, the atmosphere between the two riders was cold, with Wiggins growing increasingly paranoid that Froome wanted to take the leadership role for himself. While Wiggins ultimately won the Tour de France, Froome's frustration was clear, and the situation worsened in the years that followed. By 2013, Wiggins had been pushed out of the team and didn't even defend his Tour de France title, as Froome asserted his leadership on the team, winning the Tour de France as well, and he did so 3 more times. Their relationship never really recovered, with both taking shots at each other in interviews and in autobiographies, and even their wives at the time doing the same. Heading to a different rivalry, and that came between Mark Cavendish and Andre Greipel, who were both the big sprinters and were within the same team of the HTC High Road. Both were among the fastest men in the world and had won numerous victories in Grand Tours and stage races, and both wanted to be the team's #1 sprinter. But unfortunately for the Tour de France spots, there was only room for one sprinter. Cavendish was the team star, winning stage after stage at the Tour de France with the help of his dedicated lead-out train. Meanwhile, Greipel was often sent to smaller races where he racked up an impressive tally of victories. However, Cavendish openly dismissed Greipel's achievements, stating that his wins were meaningless because they came in races that Cavendish didn't bother competing in. The tension within the team became unbearable, and Greipel felt overlooked, while Cavendish made it clear that he saw himself as the only real sprinter. And subsequent stories have also revealed that when Mark Renshaw was leading out Andre Greipel in Scheldeprijs one year, Mark Cavendish asked him to mess up and open the lead out too soon to try and mess up Greipel's bid for the win. When the two sprinters faced off years later, they often took jabs at each other in interviews, keeping the rivalry alive, but Greipel did take a stage win against Mark Cavendish and has had his fair shares of wins in the Tour de France as well. Next, we turn our time back to that of the 1986 Tour de France, and this was of course the rivalry between Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault, whose relationship began in the form of respect but turned into one of the most infamous betrayals in the Tour's history. Hinault was a 5-time Tour de France winner and a dominant rider of his era, and in 1985 he'd won the Tour with the help of his young American teammate Greg LeMond. As a reward, he promised to support LeMond the following year and help him win his first ever Tour de France. But once the 1986 race began, it was clear that Hinault had no intentions of honoring that promise, with the allure of a 6th title potentially happening for him. Instead of helping Lamont, Eno launched relentless attacks, trying to drop his own teammate and take the race for himself. Lamont, stronger and more determined, managed to fight off the Badger, ultimately securing the victory, and we even had the heroic scenes up Alpe d'Huez where the two of them held hands riding up the win. Though Eno later claimed that the attacks were meant to push Lamont to prove himself, the American never fully forgave the Frenchman. Their relationship remained strained for years, with Lamont often recalling how difficult it was to fight both his rivals and his own teammate at the same time. And if you want to see more about how good Greg LeMond was, make sure to check out our video here on the channel as well. Next, we go to the mid 20th century in Italy, and this is where cycling is more than just a sport. Here we saw the cultural battle, and at the heart of that were two men, Gino Bartoli and Fausto Coppi. Bartoli was a devout Catholic and a national hero, a man who had won the Tour de France before the Second World War and beloved by traditionalists. Coppi, younger and more modern in his approach to training and tactics, represented the future. The rivalry was so intense that the Italian fans were split into two camps, passionately supporting either Bartoli or Coppi. When the two had to join forces to ride together on the Italian national team, things got worse. At the 1949 Tour de France, when national teams were involved, Coppi launched an attack that left Bartoli behind, effectively taking control of the race. Though they later put down the battle axes in public, the damage had been done. Their rivalry shaped Italian cycling for decades, and even today, their names are synonymous with one of the greatest internal battles of the sport. Now coming to our final rivalry, and few rivalries in cycling have been as openly hostile as the battle between Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador at the 2009 Tour de France. By 2009, Contador was at the peak of his powers. He had already won the Tour de France in 2007 and the Giro Vuelta double in 2008, and was widely regarded as the best GC rider in the world. However, everything changed when Lance Armstrong came out of retirement and wanted to join his old team manager of Johan Branil at Astana, which was also Contador's team. Armstrong at the time was considered a 7-time Tour de France winner and was used to being absolute team leader of any team he was a part, and despite being past his prime, he expected to lead Astana at the Tour de France that year. From the very start, the two men refused to work together. They barely spoke, and their body language made it very clear that they despised one another. In the opening prologue, Contador got the better of Lance Armstrong, but on stage 3, Armstrong used his tactical nous to distance Contador in the crosswinds and made a snarky remark afterwards. They came together at the team time trial where Astana boasted the best time, winning the stage. Tensions boiled over on stage 7, the yellow jersey of Fabian Cancellara, and the race heated up, and then it happened. Contador attacked on the climb to Acalis, dropping Armstrong and ignoring team orders, winning the stage, and Armstrong, furious, made sarcastic comments to the press, suggesting that Contador had disrespected the team and the yellow jersey was still out of the team, but very close now. Stage 15 was the setting for Contador's next attack, and when he did so, no one could respond behind. Lance Armstrong nailed to the road. Contador took the win and pulled on the yellow jersey, and Armstrong admitted reluctantly that perhaps this was defeat. Contador dominated the rest of the tour and won the race, with Andy Schlecht in second and Lance Armstrong in third, and they even managed to give each other a very brief handshake. Reports were that Lance Armstrong, very disgruntled with the whole thing, even skipped the team dinner afterwards to be somewhere else. After the race, Contador openly criticized Armstrong, saying that they had zero relationship and calling him a bad teammate. Armstrong never one to back down, fired back with cryptic social media posts and interviews. The feud lasted long and after the race, with both men refusing to acknowledge each other in later years. So that was basically some of the most tense relationship within a team. Cycling is, of course, a unique sport in itself, that teammates often compete against each other and sometimes ignoring the actual rival. Whether it's a sprinter refusing to play second fiddle, a young talent challenging an established champion, or a veteran unwilling to relinquish control, these internal conflicts have shaped some of the most unforgettable moments in the sport's history. But anyways, that's basically it for this video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and why not check out the video with Eddie Merckx or Greg LeMond. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you around.